Hey there, Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I'm a Western Practical Astrologer. Okay, so in today's video, we are going to be talking all about this upcoming new moon in the sign of Scorpio happening the day after Halloween. Now, before we do dive in, please make sure to like the video if you do like it today, of course, and also subscribe if you want to keep up to date with new videos from myself. And if you would like to book a personal birth chart reading with myself, then you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. There you can also find all of my astrology products. Thank you so much. Okay, so just to go over just this overview, the overview of the astrology when the new moon in Scorpio takes place. Well, we have something quite unique, I think, because as the new moon in Scorpio occurs, which it will occur at 9 degrees, we see here that both of the dispositors of the new moon will oppose one another at 29 degrees. So the energy is quite strong here, very sensitive. And we can look at this as potential power plays, power struggles. We'll get more into it. We will get more into it, okay? But Pluto and Mars are the two rulers of Scorpio. Mars is the traditional ruler, Pluto is the modern day ruler, but they're having a bit of standoff. And the thing about this is we will not see this particular opposition again in our lifetime, because the thing is that Pluto is going to be on the move, right? So Pluto is going to re-enter Aquarius by the 19th of November, and there it will stay for the next 20 years. And then Pluto, of course, will not be back in Capricorn for another 200 years or so. So yes, we could look at this as so many things being finalized. Again, we're going to touch more on that because the number 9 is quite interesting to think about, right? When we think about the numerology. So there's that. But the other thing is Mercury will be finishing up in Scorpio around the new moon. And then Mercury will also be creating this delicious grand water trine with Mars in Cancer and Neptune in Pisces. Then we also see that Mercury will oppose Uranus retrograde, and there will also be a couple of T-squares, so very challenging energy at the same time. So we have a cardinal T-square and we have a bit of a mutable T-square. Some people may not include it as that, but I'm just going to look at it, and maybe we could look at it too as the mutable T-square will not be as potent because of the sphere of influence. But anyway, the cardinal T-square will involve Mars and Pluto, and then also Juno. Juno is going to act as this mediator. Juno is going to kind of come between Mars and Pluto and say, come on now, let's try and get on the same page. Can we do that, please? And then we also see with the mutable T-square, it's going to occur between Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn. Yes, Venus will be in Sagittarius, you see. And then we also see that both Venus and the asteroid Pallas will make a trine to Chiron, whilst Chiron also creates a sextile with Jupiter retrograde, and they are the same degree. So they're both at 20 degrees there. So we're going to touch on these parts of the chart as we go through today's video. Alrighty, the number 9. Here's the exciting thing, the interesting thing. The number nine is a number of completion and culmination, right? So there is this coming to the end of a cycle, coming to the end of a story, the closing of a chapter, wrapping things up. Very interesting again when we consider those dispositors and the positions of them. Both of them will be at 29 degrees, and then that is also looking at the end of the sign. There's a sense of urgency, apprehension. Do remember that Mars will go retrograde very soon. So I think it starts from the 6th of December from Leo. So I'm sure we will talk about that closer to the time. And then just to also mention that Mars will be, well, it is in its pre-shadow period. So we're kind of gearing up for the retrograde, and maybe it's a good idea to assess, okay, what might come up for me? Have a think about it. Again, to make things more practical, we will talk about that stuff closer to the time. But the number nine, yes, the number nine is a number of culmination, things wrapping up, coming to a close, but also new beginnings at the same time. Even think about this in terms of the new moon, because with the new moon, it is about a fresh start, a fresh perspective, setting new intentions. But then the number nine, too, it's also a pretty spiritual number, I would say. It can be a number of wisdom, great insight. It's also a number that can be quite determined, pretty courageous. This sort of energy, then, we have to use or to consider around the new moon. But hey, Scorpio itself as a sign is very determined and fixed and courageous. Yeah, Scorpio will fight tooth and nail for what it wants. And then the other thing is this new moon will happen within the Scorpio decan. So we could look at this as more of a punch. It's just very Scorpio heavy, and we'll get into what that means in just a moment. And then the last thing is this new moon is happening at 9 degrees. So this ninth degree is a Sagittarius degree. So there's also a bigger picture feeling to the new moon. There's this sort of quality. And that makes sense to me whenever we consider the closing of chapters, especially with Pluto, right? We come to the end of Pluto being in Aquarius, and we have this new moon in Scorpio, the very sign that Pluto rules. So Sagittarius can maybe act as a bringer of truth, a bringer of knowledge and wisdom. And maybe we can also then assess the bigger picture of our story, right? Our Pluto and Capricorn story. Now, if you would like more information about what Pluto and Capricorn has ushered in for you over these past 16 years, I have made videos for all of the signs, so be sure to check those out. But indeed, we have a new cycle beginning here in our Scorpio house. Now, we want to also think about following the path of the moon, because there will be more to the new moon story as time goes on. So the moon will reach its first quarter phase in Scorpio by August of 2025, and that will be at 9 degrees. So basically here, during the new moon in Scorpio on the 1st of November, we have an opportunity to set new intentions, to plant new seeds, to think about what we want to bring into reality, so to speak, what we would like to change. So these things, when it comes to devotion, when it comes to our drive and determination, Scorpio is a sign of self-mastery, especially emotional self-mastery. So being this unshakable, unstoppable force from within, being able to manage your emotions effectively and to use your emotions to benefit you and to support you. But we can further see this then with this grand water trine, right? Because Mercury will be in Scorpio, so this will also be a mental thing, right? So this unshakable mental influence. And then even with Mercury making a trine to Mars, we can also look at this as our thoughts and our actions aligning, so to speak. Having more of this approach of, okay, I'm going to think here before I act. I'm going to make sure that I don't do something or say something that could very well disrupt things or destroy things for myself. Yes, Scorpio reminds us that we can practice self-control. We can practice this self-discipline, especially when it comes to the realm of emotion. So even think about that. I think when when we think about how Mars and Pluto are opposing one another, think about how that energy can be quite combative. It can be an energy of lashing out or being very moody or being overly emotional, like intensely so, overwhelmed with emotion. So if these situations happen, hopefully we can think about our thoughts, right? We can go back to the mind. We can maybe draw from Mercury and Scorpio, so to speak, and say, hold on, hold on, hold on. Have I thought about this? Do I want to react this way? Should I let this other person know that this is what I think or this is how I feel? Let me just pause. And even with Neptune, Neptune is also there, part of the grand water trine, reminding us that we can pause. Okay? Find power in the pause. You could also look at this as psychological depth and insight. Our feelings may be very big, of course, but this is also about being able to process and regulate our emotions and our big feelings in ways that are more healthy, okay, a bit more productive instead of, lashing out, for instance. And we could also use the groundwater trine as an opportunity to clear space, create space, to have greater flow in our lives. We can let go. There can be healthy emotional releases. You can even think about that on a practical level, so just making sure that you are looking after your body, your health. Could be a case of making sure that you're eating right around this time period. You're hydrated. Exercise is a big thing here. Just maybe a better way to put it is just to move the body, to do something that's fun in this way when it comes to moving your body. Yeah, but this stuff can also be very healing, and it's also an opportunity for us to work with the unconscious, to explore our own depths and to be honest with ourselves about what comes up. There could be a lot of stuff to do with the past, to do with potential unresolved traumas, triggers, things like this. Yeah, so I think a big part of it, especially with the moon, so the new moon making a trine with Saturn retrograde, is to take responsibility. It's about being patient with ourselves, and there is also that connection with our spiritual selves, our inner selves, right? And Saturn is also about mastery. And then in Pisces, this is again more emotional. So back to what I was saying there, setting new intentions, right? We're going to set new intentions. But you see, by the time August 2025 comes, those intentions will be tested. We will be challenged in some way, shape, or form. Then, whenever we get to May of 2026, there will be the full moon in Scorpio. And that will be a good opportunity for us to reap rewards, right? So, whatever intentions we set during the new moon, perhaps we will reap rewards. Perhaps there will be a significant release. We will let go of something. There will be that kind of culmination energy, chapters closing, possibly wrapping things up slightly again there, moving on, things being done, things being finalized, stuff like this. But I do want to mention that I put eclipse, that's what's written there. That is my mistake. That's supposed to just say full moon. Completely my mistake. Just to let you know there. But then speaking of things being finalized, we can especially see this with the third quarter phase. Okay, so when the moon is in Scorpio in its third quarter phase, and this again will be 2026. This can really be where things are finalized or where we learn from the past number of months. Okay, and we can adjust. So just remember that this new moon is a part of a much bigger story, right? It's the start of a new cycle, it's a new beginning. And the fact that the moon will be in Scorpio, there is this quality of embracing and integrating our shadow. This is about bringing truth to light, seeing things for what they are. We can shed old skin. This is about our own evolution, our own evolutionary process, and being like the phoenix, right? With Scorpio, we look to the Minerva and how the Minerva is linked to that phoenix rising, rising from the ashes. And so this is where we could really see things come to light. And just remember again that this is part of our own transformations over the next couple of years as you follow the moon's path. Again, I just want to mention that May 2026, that's just going to be a full moon. It's not going to be an eclipse. Okay, the other thing I just want to say before we move on is remember that this is a new moon that is urging us to trust. And this, yes, okay, Scorpio is a sign of trust, but it's to trust in ourselves as well. Trust in yourself, trust in your own spiritual journey, your own spiritual path. Trust when it comes to how you can outgrow old layers of yourself. And hey, the thing about this too is it can be painful. It can be painful to start a new chapter, to enter into a whole new phase of your life. As one chapter closes, another chapter begins, and there can be mourning, there can be grief that can happen there. So as you look back, you may be emotional, and that's okay. This is, I think, where it's important to feel the feels. Let your emotions come through. Don't judge them. Don't criticize them. Think you're stupid or whatever for having certain emotions. Emotions come and they go. Okay. I even think about this in terms of our moods, on a general sort of everyday basis. Think even about how the moon itself, it's the fastest moving celestial body, staying in one sign for about 2 to 2.5 days or so. So, what we learn from the moon and its many fluctuations as it goes through each of the signs is that we too are like this. Our moods fluctuate. So, just a very basic example, today I'm feeling a little bit extra moody, I'm a little bit more tired, a little bit more exhausted, but last week I was a lot more energized. My hormones also play a role, just to say. Yes, the cycles of being a woman. But anyway, hormones can also play a role, but the point being that you could be in a happy mood one day, and then you could be in a pretty rotten mood the next. The day after that, you could just be a bit more neutral. Okay, yeah, our moods can fluctuate. So all of this is to say that remember with the new moon in Scorpio, okay, the moon being in Scorpio, our moods could actually be a bit more intense. Things could feel like the end of the world, honestly. It could be like, oh, does everything suck? And it can be all or nothing. With Scorpio, it can be like this. Be mindful of that. Be mindful of the inner critic. Be mindful of the inner voice that can be a trickster, that can try to go, oh, well, maybe self-sabotage is a good idea, being self-destructive is a good idea, giving into old habits and addictive tendencies, maybe you should do that to feel better. Ooh. Be mindful of that. It's very tempting. Yes. But then I would also say, with the new moon here in Scorpio, whilst there can be intensities in one extreme, as I was trying to suggest there can also be the excitement and euphoria and ecstasy. Hey, but that can also be quite challenging within itself. Whatever the emotion is, Scorpio can come along and intensify it. Absolutely intensify it. So just I will be mindful, but I also hope, I really hope here with the grand water trine coming into the equation, and then also with the trine to Saturn, we're not going to get so carried away, okay? We can have that emotional insight, that emotional depth. So, for instance, if you find yourself projecting or lashing out or taking your bad mood out on other people, you can pause, you can go, what's going on with me? Why am I feeling this way? A lot of I statements, right? And then hopefully too, with this, we can create greater bonds within our relationships. Greater intimacy can be formed. Vulnerability is also a big Scorpio thing. Of course, there can also be fears of vulnerability with Scorpio. So there is that. Naturally, on that note, everybody's experience is going to be very different around the new moon. And of course, the other thing too is your chart always comes first. I have found myself saying that a lot lately on Instagram, just typing out, your chart always comes first. I feel like I need to get a t shirt or something with that on it, or just to have that as a slogan, because it's true. Your chart always comes first. No matter what video I make about the astrology and the transits and the new moons and the full moons, it's you have to think about your personal chart and your relationship with that and your life, right? Your life is your life. Everybody walks a different path. Everyone's on their own journey. So there is that. Okay, everyone, let's now move on to our next section. So, with Mercury opposite Uranus retrograde, this is where I think finding power in the pause can do us the world of good. Honestly, it could be a time where people are testing our patience. People will get under our skin. You may go, why is this person like this? How are they so unaware of themselves? They lack such self awareness. Why are they so hypocritical? Or why do they do that to themselves? Right? We could have all of these thoughts just going around in our heads about this, that, and the other. We could say things abruptly. The truth can hurt. It can hurt. So there could be a truthfulness with Mercury and Scorpio, of course, where we get right to the core of a situation and we just want to say it like it is. Okay? We might just want to say it to that person or whatever. But what we say could very well backfire. And maybe a part of it could be where the finger points straight back at you. Like, oh, you think that about me? Oh, well, I'm going to point the finger back at you. Uh-huh. We could also look at this, hopefully, on a more balanced, harmonious level, where we could perhaps be in collaboration with others, or where we can just, hey, agree to disagree about a certain situation, or we could even be surprised by a financial shift. Try and focus on what actually matters. Maybe just take a moment and go, is what I'm about to say, does it actually matter? Does it really matter in this situation? What will it get me if I say this? And yes, it's like with Scorpio, say the truth, yes, the truth can hurt, but just say the truth. But there's still something about this opposition, I think, that highlights just because it's true doesn't mean you have to say it. I think this is where the very value of our words comes into the equation. And maybe too, a part of this is about our own inner peace slightly. And this helps us move on to the cardinal T square, right? Because Juno is acting as the mediator. So stay with me here. The cardinal T-square can be an indicator of fighting, intensity. Notice the oppositions. We've got these oppositions happening. We've got an opposition between Uranus and Mercury, Mars and Pluto. Heavy hitters, people, heavy hitters. So with this, we could see this defeat energy. We could see this one-upmanship, very emotional, hurtful, battle scars, saying things, but even just coming across as really hurtful when we say things. Security concerns can happen. And then we also see with water, water is about emotion. Earth is about substance. Earth can also be a very bodily thing, right? Thinking about our physical body. So a lot of sensations, we could feel a lot of big waves, big sensations. And maybe a part of it too is like, just get this out of me. I just want to release it. But we got to be mindful of how we do that. Just releasing it onto other people, projecting it onto other people, not so helpful. So with water and earth here, they're in a bit of a tense place. But what I've put is, what if Mars can kind of tag in Uranus for help? So Mars, if you think about Mars is about our actions. Mars in Cancer can be emotional reactions. So Mars could tag in Uranus and Taurus by going, oh, I never thought of it that way. Oh, epiphanies, realizations about my value system, about my body. Or maybe I can just think about moving my own body and connecting with myself. And then with Pluto, Pluto can tag in Mercury. So Pluto there is in Capricorn, and yes, this is part of a much bigger story. Pluto in Capricorn has been more of a collective thing, a very generational thing, thinking about power plays here to do with big organizations and corporations, things like this. But with Mercury then being tagged in, this could be where we go, is it, yeah, do I want to say this thing? Should I abruptly mention this? And to me, honestly, this, when we think about this practically, we're about to approach, well, we're coming up to a pretty combative time. We're coming up to this time where the political landscape, it's very tense. So we could see the social stuff here. This could be more collective stuff really happening. A lot of arguments, a lot of fighting, a lot of disagreements. Okay, because it's this very this side versus that side, and it's interesting that we even see this in the astrology. But to maybe bring this back to the self a little bit, maybe we can look at Pluto tagging in Mercury and helping us just think things through a bit better, to be a bit more mindful of our words, and can we focus on the things that we actually can control, because essentially there's a lot of things that we can't control. With Juno again acting as the mediator, we can look at this as using good judgment, remember your priorities and your commitments, and we can settle things with diplomacy and tact. Just to even say, with all of the political, more collective stuff to the side for a moment, we could also see us hopefully being mindful, diplomatic, and tactful within our everyday lives. This doesn't just have to be all of the social stuff that's happening. This could be more of an everyday thing. And maybe we'll touch on some of the potential conflicts that could unfold throughout your own horoscopes. Okay. And then the other thing I just want to say is Aries. So Aries here can shed light on our actions and our individuality, here within it all. Indeed. Okay, so moving on to our last slide. I'll not spend too much longer on this one, but with the mutable T-square, again, it's not so potent. This could be where limitations can show us that hey, they're healthy, they can be healthy. Discipline can be really useful, beneficial. So ask yourself, when might you go overboard or take on too much? What's also coming to my mind is just the spread of information. Again, we go back to maybe to social media. We think about Jupiter and Gemini, Venus and Sagittarius, broadcasting, publishing, promotion, all the communication stuff, the information, just being bombarded. Absolutely, we're bombarded with information. So maybe we can look at this as, hey, I got to take a step back from that, or I need to be mindful of how much I'm consuming, or how much of my energy is being impacted by all of this. Self-doubt could also creep in, right? Self-doubt can maybe trip us up. False stories, limiting beliefs could be a part of this, but naturally, we could see some freedom with it too, or freedom from it slightly, or being able to think a bit more positively. See, yes, it can be difficult to see opportunities, but maybe we can also just look things over. Maybe there's something that we didn't see before. And with Venus being in Sagittarius, hopefully this can show or point toward some sort of enthusiasm, or being more focused on our own freedom, to free ourselves from the confusion. Now, with Virgo, Virgo can shed light on humility and on details. Discernment, anyone? Discernment. And with Venus also making a trine to Chiron, self love comes into this, self acceptance. Pallas also is a part of this. So, Pallas can act as us being strategic. Who are you trying to prove your worth to? Maybe to think about these things. And with Jupiter retrograde also making that sextile to Chiron, painful truths could come up, which we can explore and learn from. It doesn't have to be this difficult life. Maybe if you can maybe identify times in life where you are making things more difficult than they need to be, maybe we can be flexible and open to change, and we can rise above any chaos that unfolds around this new moon. So that is basically the general overview of the astrology. And now we are going to get into your horoscopes. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Okay, so first up, we have Aries. So Aries, the new moon will be happening in your 8th house on the 1st of November in the sign of Scorpio. So we could see a new cycle starting when it comes to joint financial planning, for example. So this could be a case of you and your significant other or a business partner just coming together, putting your heads together and thinking about, right, what about the future? What cutbacks do we need to make? What's working? What isn't working here? Then, when we also think about Pluto, so Pluto being one of the dispositors of this new moon, it is in the 10th house. It's finishing up there in the 10th house for you. So, a lot of this joint financial planning stuff is connected with your career path. I think this is about a potentially a new career opportunity. That this could be about a change in your status, a change in your reputation, or just changes when it comes to your accomplishments and your achievements. Could even be that you're called to really step up in some way, shape, or form here, Aries. But naturally, this stuff is also being challenged by, well, things like your energy levels or your moods. You know, it could be that you feel quite emotionally deflated or depleted in some way, shape, or form, with your chart ruler being there in the 4th house in Cancer. Maybe you are feeling a bit impatient, impatient about the lack of progress or the lack of things moving. But, just remember that things are. And I get that with you, Aries, I suppose you can be impatient people in general. Whenever something doesn't go your way, first of all, uh, sure, you can be relentless, you can be resilient, very determined to get what you want or to try again, to push forward and things like that. But just, I think this new moon serves as a reminder that uh, to be patient. It serves as a reminder to be somewhat patient. Even think of it in terms of Mercury making that trine to Saturn. So Saturn being the ruler of your 10th. I mean, Saturn is in the 12th, and there is something here to be said about relaxation. A bit of rest may do you the world of good here, Aries. And then with Mercury being in the 8th house, the shared resource stuff, the financial planning stuff could be weighing on your mind. This stuff could even be about your partner's money, what they do with their money. So there could even be some new cycle setting new intentions to do with their money. And we also want to think about how these conversations somehow are related to your work and your services and your everyday. So thinking about your routines and your habits, right? Because Mercury does rule your 6th house as well. And then maybe too, a part of this is uh, thinking about how you might be spreading yourself a bit too wide when it comes to learning or when it comes to communicating, thinking about certain communication projects, intellectual projects with Jupiter in the 3rd, opposite Venus. So, hey, this new moon could just be an opportunity for you to get some of your priorities right there, right? You can maybe just assess even your values, assess that joint financial planning stuff, and maybe doing that in a business setting, thinking things through when it comes to clients and customers and the types of people that you want to attract there or work with. And even just to further mention, of course, that with the new moon being in Scorpio in the 8th house, we could also look at this through a lens of wanting to establish greater intimacy and closeness here. And this could be, right, it could be about relationships with your significant other. This could be about, that intimate partner of yours. But this could also be about close friendships. This could be about vulnerability and opening up. Hey, maybe even it's your asexuality that comes into this. This could be about family planning. This could be about the kind of way that you want to raise your family. A lot of perhaps family conversations coming into this, I think, and maybe to honesty, right? Being quite honest about how you're feeling. So, yeah, I would say that this could be a new moon where you also set new intentions to do with intimacy and emotional bonding, emotional closeness. Could also be a good opportunity for you to release a lot of pent up emotion, actually, right? With that groundwater trine between Scorpio, Pisces, and Cancer, uh, get out a lot of your emotion. Consider just that your feelings may be very big right now, especially if it is that you're feeling frustrated about work or family, or you're feeling frustrated a bit about the how stagnant just things feel right now. Just focus on your own emotional body, I suppose, and what you can control. Thank you, Aries. And now we're going to move on to Taurus. So, Taurus, we see here that this new moon is happening in your 7th house. So, with the new moon happening in Scorpio in your 7th house, Taurus, we're looking at the beginning of a new cycle when it comes to how you behave, how you act within relationships and partnerships. So, this could be about you recognizing the part of you that feels quite distant from yourself. So, with Scorpio in the 7th, a part of your shadow, a part of your unconscious is tied to things like maybe being quite determined and relentless, or possibly, for some of you, it could be being quite domineering or controlling, being quite obsessive, potentially. This could also be a case of the more far removed part of yourself being fixated on things. You can really fixate and you find it difficult to let things go. But we could also look at this in terms of you being rather devoted people, right? Very loyal, very, very loyal within relationships, especially whenever there is that emotional bond and there is intimacy and trust, when trust has been established. So, yes, we could see a new cycle here. This could even be further commitment, greater connection, maybe because you have grown closer with another. But then again, this could also be endings, right? The endings of a certain relationship or a business partnership, or distancing yourself from certain people, with the moon being in the seventh, right? The moon rules your third. So this could be a case of you separating yourself from certain siblings or cousins, close family members there, or maybe a better way to put it would be immediate family members. So yeah, to maybe distance yourself, separate yourself, maybe because you think to yourself, this isn't healthy for me. These people bring out the worst in me. It could be this sort of thing. It could be that certain people trigger you, this sort of stuff. And hey, potentially, this stuff could even be related to certain lecturers or teachers or mentors, people who maybe talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. And you sort of see through a lot of that, because we do see with the opposition, there is this back and forth. Perhaps this could even be a case of you setting new intentions, to do with people that you want to work with. Okay. And that comes from a place of the knowledge and the experience that you've acquired over these past 16 years, as Pluto has went through your ninth house. You kind of think to yourself, well, I've done so much work, I've laid the groundwork, I've pushed myself through these challenges, and they've been hard, they've been difficult, but I've kept going. You can be a sign that is great when it comes to following things through till completion. So because you've asserted yourself, you've worked hard, you can maybe look at it as, I know my worth here when it comes to clients and customers and who I want to work with, when it comes to business. So there could be on your part this greater focus on these things, right? Where you go, well, I'm not budging. I'm not moving when it comes to this. I know what my priorities are. I know what my values are, and I'm sticking to my guns. So, yeah, I just get from this energy really standing your ground, I think, in many ways, Taurus, around this new moon. And, we could even slightly look at it as, we'll bring Juno slightly into this, right? Because Juno is in your sixth, and maybe Juno in the sixth says there's something about you being able to weigh things out better, right? To weigh out your options when it comes to work, when it comes to your services. You can maybe just take the time to think things through, to go over the pros and the cons. Do I want to work with these people? Am I comfortable here? Do I see myself in this place? Do I feel balanced and aligned here? So, this stuff can maybe even help ease that tension a little bit. Maybe this is about putting yourself first, thinking about your health, thinking about your everyday stuff. And yeah, maybe a bit of healthy separation can be very beneficial for you around this time, Taurus. Thank you, Taurus. And now we're going to move on to Gemini. Okay, Gemini, what's coming up for you during the new moon in Scorpio? So this new moon is going to happen in your sixth house here, Gemini, on the 1st of November. So we see the beginning of a new cycle when it comes to your daily habits, and your stress levels. When, hey, it could even be pets, right? Some kind of new cycle to do with the pets you own, or pets that you would like to own in this regard. Or we could see some significant new beginnings to do with body, your body. Okay, so your health, your physical body, how you take care of yourself, all of this stuff. This is further highlighted because Mercury, which Mercury is your ruler, Gemini, Mercury is also there in the sixth house, and Mercury is also creating this grand water trine with the 10th house and the second house. So there does seem to be a bit of a mental shift for you regarding your working life and schedules and routines, some kind of transformation, some kind of renewal, some sort of change that you want to see, that you want to make. And with Mercury being in Scorpio, especially with the new moon there, you're pretty certain. I think you're pretty certain, you're pretty determined. It's this sort of locking, focused, concentrated energy that says, I will not give up and I will get what I want here when it comes to this change. But maybe a part of it too is coming from a place of I need rest, I need more time off, I need more time to myself. And the other thing too is the moon does rule your second house. So I can't help but think that a lot of this has to do with your physical security, it has to do with your finances and your resources and your family life, I think, because I mean, this Cancer energy in the second house, Gemini, suggests to me that you value your family time. You value spending time with your loved ones and you value your comforts, right? Especially your emotional security, your emotional comforts, what is familiar to you in that way, and what feels right. Going off, your feelings in this regard. So there could be pretty strong feelings that come up around this new moon to do with your job, your occupation, and again, this could be your health. So again, this perhaps could be some kind of transformation within these areas, and so you set those intentions. This could be having a conversation with an employee, a coworker, a boss, a manager, about your time and your schedules and your routines, things like that. And the other thing is Pluto is in the eighth, finishing up. So maybe a part of this too is because you think to yourself, you don't want to overwork yourself. You've already been working so hard and you've already experienced quite a quite a bit of loss and grief over these past 16 years, Gemini. So I just think that you're at a point where you're coming out of Pluto in Capricorn really anew. You're coming out with so many lessons. A lot of learning has happened because of those challenges, new perspectives essentially here, Gemini, new perspectives. Naturally, this could be a case of such perspectives and such inner transformations being tied to how you assert yourself, how you take action when it comes to spending. So thinking about your spending habits, budgeting, your earning, your resources, all of this stuff. And you may be feeling a bit emotional about all of this stuff, actually. It could even be that you're feeling a bit stressed or worried about the future, worried about your physical security. And maybe this is all the more reason for you to think about, right, a new cycle, a new way forward. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to support my family, support myself in ways that are much more aligned with my emotional needs. Thank you so much, Gemini. And now we're going to move on to Cancer. So, Cancer, the new moon in Scorpio on the 1st of November is going to take place in your fifth house. So, we could see some new cycle, new beginnings, new chapters to do with your free time. Honestly, this could be about leisure time, time off, vacations, holidays, just, thinking about all the fun things and being quite serious about making things happen in that way. Maybe because you have been working so hard, or because you have been tested largely when it comes to business partnerships and relations there, right? We think about how Pluto has been in your seventh house over the past 16 years. And I think with Pluto through that house there in Capricorn, you have well and truly been tested. Your patience has been tested, your authority has been tested. We've seen power struggles happen for you, possible power plays happen for you when it comes to business and contracts, agreements. Um, yeah, there have been pretty heavy discussions. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, I'm just going to say, as either, right? Those hard discussions, those hard conversations to have in a business setting, or even when it comes to your significant other, partnerships, things like that. As challenging as they can be, I think that this is also about how you can learn from those conversations and how you can grow through them as well. But I still can't help but think that you're at a point, you're at a stage here, Cancer, coming up to this new moon, where you're thinking, I would really like just to spend some time away. I just want to enjoy myself. I want some more time to be playful, to think about the fun things in life. Yeah, time off. This is what's really coming up. And perhaps as well, because of that, right? So because of maybe having time off, which, to be fair, this could also be about wanting to spend more time with your children if you have any, or you are readjusting your priorities because you want to have a family one day. This stuff could be coming up too. But I think there's also some sort of connection here with a new path, a new way forward. So stay with me. Mars naturally is also in the first house and it's opposing Pluto. So maybe there's some sort of new path, or heading on off on a different journey, and thinking more about what you want in terms of your career, your vocation. Think even about how Mars rules your 10th house too, right? So there could just be this reaching your limit. This is what I'm getting, this reaching your limit energy, and you just want something new. You want to do something differently. But the thing about this, Cancer, I just want to make you aware of is be mindful, right? Take some time to go over things, because Mars will come back into your sign in a retrograde motion, and that will happen from January of 2025. So from January until February of 2025, that will be a good opportunity for you to go over things. And by things, I mean to go over the next plan, to go over the next step. If it is, for instance, that around the new moon, you start setting new intentions and you go, right, I want more time off. I want more time with my family. I want more time to have fun or with my children. Then you can be quite set on that, of course, with Mercury being in the fifth house too. But just remember that you may revisit these things later on. This is what I'm getting from it. You may revisit these things a little bit later on. So just be mindful of that. But I still think that the intentions are still there. Okay. Planting new seeds, still very much going to be there around the new moon. Okay. Thank you so much, Cancer. And now we're going to move on to Leo. So, Leo, we have here the new moon happening in your fourth house. So, with the new moon in Scorpio on the 1st of November in your fourth house, we could see you beginning a new cycle to do with, well, it could very well be family related matters. It could be how you show up within your home. This could be about your living situation. Maybe certain conclusions will be reached. There will be this culmination of things happening, wrapping things up possibly. When it comes to a family member situation, maybe a part of this is regulating and managing your own emotions, and then also being able to step back and to consider who you're not in control of, right? Who you're not responsible for. Maybe this is a pretty harsh thing, a pretty, it's like a hit of reality, a hit of, no, can't do this anymore. I've reached my limit. I cannot give any more of myself to this family member, to this situation. I need to put myself first. Think of it this way too, with the moon being the ruler of your 12th, Mars is actually in there, by the way. So there could be this intensity boiling beneath the surface, right? There could be a lot of pent up emotion, maybe sort of passive aggressive stuff there. There could be inner frustration, and you maybe instead of you being quite assertive and just coming out with it or saying the thing or doing the thing, you've tolerated a lot, you've put up with a lot. But maybe this new moon where you go, hey, you know what? I am going to enter my villain era. I'm going to enter my villain era. And what I mean by that is me putting myself first. People may not like that very much, and I may be the villain in somebody else's story, but I don't care. I'm done with acting nice or playing sweet for other people. I'm done with that. And what I'm further trying to get at with this is we think about that the Mars influence in Cancer in the 12th. So again, this could go back to family stuff. And I even just want to say here, Leo, that I get it. With you can be very authentic, and you are people who like to keep it real, and you're people who are very loyal. So I just can't help but think that with Cancer in the 12th, you sort of push things to the side to just to put up with certain behaviors, especially if it is that you really care about someone, because you want to keep that loyalty. But I just can't help but think that this is a new moon that's going to say, I cannot do this. I'm done with the mind games. I'm done with the manipulative tactics. I'm done with, whatever this weird situation is, can't do it anymore. But we could also look at it through a lens of, well, your work, your health. My goodness, perhaps this stuff is somehow tied in with employers, employees, coworkers. It's tied in with some manager or a boss. It just could be work related. And this is where we say, do you know what? I've been working hard. I've been doing all these things, and I never get a thank you. I never get praise. I never get some sort of recognition. I'm done with this. So, yeah, there could just be this energy of moving on. And this stuff is about your work, your schedules, your habits, your routines. Maybe as well, a part of it is about your health, putting your health first, making your health a priority. Then, just before we move on to Virgo, for you, Leo, remember that Mars will enter your sign and then start to retrograde in the first house. So from the 6th of December until around, I think, the 6th of January. So there will be that month from December to January where you will have an opportunity just to go over the plan, to go over, right, what are my next steps? What do I enjoy? What lights me up? You will have an opportunity to, how do I say this? Reconnect with your inner fire, right? To reconnect with the flame, with your fire, with your energy, your oomph. And this, I think, is also part of the bigger story because, Venus also was in your sign last year. It was retrograde. So a lot of stuff came up to do with relationships and partnerships and beauty and creativity, looking over those things. But this time, I think a lot of it is about your drive, your willpower, your energy levels, and with Mars coming into your sign very soon, Leo, my goodness, you're going to be on a mission. Yeah, you may have a lot of energy. I just see such a push through chapter coming up for you, Leo, where you don't hold back. Thank you so much, Leo. And now we're going to move on to Virgo. Okay, Virgo, the new moon in Scorpio is going to happen in your third house, we see here. Right. So this new moon on the 1st of November could be an opportunity for you to set new intentions, to begin a new cycle, to do with, well, let's go for example, sibling relationships. If you do have siblings, that is, Virgo. We'll touch on other parts of this if you don't have siblings, but let's say, for instance, that you do, this could be a whole new chapter, such as you reconnecting with siblings, or this could be a case of you being quite mindful of how much you give to certain sibling relationships. Maybe this stuff is also somehow connected in with old friends. We think about those childhood friends there, and classmates, maybe people that you have met or you've become friends with in the past when you were quite young. So Oh, and also just to further say, the moon does rule your 11th, so I do think that friendship is a big part of this new moon. So to finish my point there, yeah, this could be a case of you reconnecting with old friends or you being really mindful of your strong emotions tied to friends. Again, this could be a case of siblings, maybe even cousins, certain relationships there, immediate relationships there. What's coming through here is emotional enmeshment, being perhaps too caught up in strong emotions or caught up in rescuing others, saving others, feeling like you have to heal others. Maybe this is a good opportunity for you to look within and to go, right, why is that happening? But we could also look at it through a lens of passion and determination. We could look at it through a lens of loyalty, feeling connected on a more healthy level there too. But we could also see this through a lens of healthy boundaries with your ruler, Mercury, making a trine to Saturn. Or sorry, should I say the new moon. So the new moon is making a trine to Saturn. My apologies. So with the new moon making a trine to Saturn, yes, this could be about boundaries. Now, as for Pluto being in the fifth house, making this opposition to the 11th, perhaps the intentions that you set related to those immediate relationships of yours, well, this is also about your individuality. This is about, I think, healthy separation. So, to just further say here, the fourth house in astrology can largely be about our conditioning. So, how we were conditioned from a young age, our childhood, our memories, the past, our upbringing comes through when we explore the fourth. But when we come into the fifth house is how we differentiate ourselves. It is about individualization. So to be able to look at ourselves as separate from our family, and that we have our own ego, we have our own interests, passions, hobbies, interest. I already said interests, but you know what I mean. Passions, interests, things that we enjoy, basically. And with Pluto transiting your fifth house over the past 16 years, I think this has been such a wake-up call for you, Virgo, for you to step back and go, what about my individuality? How do I express myself? How am I separate from other people? Now, we also see with the 11th house that it is about the collective consciousness. It's about seeing that we're not so separate and that we're part of the greater whole. But the thing I think about this astrology here is it's an opportunity for you to see when you might give so much of yourself that you forget about your own identity, your individuality. Think of it this way. Mars is also the ruler of your eighth. And we notice for you, Virgo, that with Chiron traveling through your eighth and the North Node, you've been on this psychological journey where you've been diving into your own psychology, quite bravely so, courageously so, looking at your wounds, looking at your own healing and those painful experiences. It's difficult to do that. So perhaps this new moon just serves as a reminder to say, hold on a second, before you maybe react, before you maybe jump in, or before you go to that place with certain people. Again, this could be about siblings, friends, immediate, family members there. Before you do that, can you take a moment to step back to acknowledge the inner work you've done. Can you step back and go, I am my own person. I'm not just going to follow blindly. I'm not just going to give of myself here and not consider what I need. Think about this too through the lens of Neptune, right? So Neptune has been in your seventh. Neptune in Pisces is its whole, it has its whole story, I suppose you could say, for everyone. But Neptune indicates the dissolving of boundaries. But Saturn, through your seventh, has been about you coming to terms with your boundaries. And that's very different. That's very, very different to what you've been used to for so long. So the point is this is a new moon, I think, where it's about you being able to focus on, okay, what do I really need here? How much am I giving here? I feel intensely, a lot of emotion is coming up. Release that emotion. It could be really healthy to release it, maybe through communication, right? There could be something about communicating it, speaking it out, talking it through, speaking with people you trust, right? There could be vulnerability and opening up, a lot of healing in this way. But also, this could be about making sure that you don't internalize, you don't punish yourself or fixate or go down this spiral where you blame yourself, maybe because, for example, you say no, right? You could say no to a certain person, or you could set a certain boundary, or you could be quite certain about something you want and it differs to what somebody else wants. And then you can maybe start to internalize that, feel guilty, feel bad. I think this is a new moon where it's time, Virgo, to start something new. It's time to go out with the old, in with the new. I recognize my triggers. I'm not doing that anymore. So we could see this in a more empowering way, I hope, for you, Virgo, with the new moon. Thank you, Virgo. Now we're going to move on to Libra. Okay, so Libra. For you, Libra, the new moon in Scorpio will be happening in your second house here. So we're going to see for you this new cycle, setting new intentions to do with, for instance, the ways in which you manage your resources and your finances. So a lot of depth, I think, will go into these areas where maybe it is about drawing from your inner resilience and courage and passion. Maybe a part of it too is to do a lot of investigation and to research things just to make sure that things are quite clear, that you're up to speed on everything. This could also then involve your career. This could involve your vocation because the moon is the ruler of your 10th. So there seems to be something here about a new path, a new direction that could influence and shape your financial landscape there. But then again, if it's not something new, like a new adventure or the closing of a chapter, it could also be just about how you approach things. It could be about a new way forward, just a new way of showing up, thinking about your actions there, even thinking about your drive and your willpower, and maybe you just taking some time to reflect upon what you want. And again, this stuff is tied in with the ways in which you earn, save, budget, spend, manage things. This could even be a case of, well, having to get through some debt, honestly, Libra. This could be some debts to pay, loans to pay, just people need to be paid here, I think. And maybe this could be a good opportunity for you to make a plan or for you to get things in order. But then again, when we bring in this opposition to Uranus, it could even be where things are quite abrupt, or you just want to give people a piece of your mind. Maybe you just want to get some advice from a legal professional, or you want to get some feedback so that you are more well informed moving forward. Then again, this could also be where it's seen in a more positive way, right? Where if it is that there's some big change to do with your finances or to do with your physical security around this new moon, and as things do start to unfold, well, you could get some positive, beneficial advice. But whatever the case, this stuff could involve debt and could even be a case of a mortgage, whether this be you being a new homeowner or a first time buyer, whether this be you moving house, or this could be you remortgaging your home, for example. Just a lot of financial stuff. And it could very well feel like things are a lot, right? It's like a lot of pressure, a lot of responsibility. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. When we think about Pluto in the fourth, and then with the opposition to Mars, you may be feeling a bit more cranky, emotional, very sensitive. Look at it this way too. If it is that there's some significant change within your family, when it comes to your living situation there, with Pluto finishing up in the fourth house, maybe a part of it is where you get emotional, you get sensitive. There is a lot that comes up, and it's good just to feel how you feel, to let out those emotions. And maybe too, a part of it is how the living situation stuff, the family stuff, may be a bit of a struggle, or it could go against, so to speak, your reputation, status, your title. So, for example, you maybe taking the time to discuss could involve your significant other, right? Because Mars also rules your seventh, but you having that discussion about you maybe not wanting to work as many hours, or you giving up a certain profession. And so that within itself could be a whole new chapter. That could be an ending, but it can also be about new beginnings too. Or another way to possibly look at this is it's your partner's career. It's your partner's vocation that seems to be changing here with Mars in the 10th. And again, it is about, right, have we thought this through? Can we make a plan? Can we be practical? But even if it is not really involving, a career change or anything like this, because I understand, everybody's a different age, everybody's at a different stage in their lives. But perhaps this is about retirement. Perhaps this is about you just having more of a discussion about what else you want to accomplish or what else you want to achieve, a new sort of goal there. Maybe it's even about just family related stuff in general, family goals, traditions, new traditions. Maybe this could even be some tension or conflict within your family, amongst your family members, about another decision or about new actions moving forward, some new opportunity, for example. But hopefully, with this energy, you can come to some kind of agreement. And with Juno in your first house here, Libra, there can be this healthy negotiation process, maybe being a bit of a mediator if it is that people are at odds amongst your family members, or even within your work, right? Thinking about the work related stuff here with the 10th house. Yes, hopefully there are some win-win outcomes that can happen. Thank you so much, Libra. And now we're going to move on to Scorpio. So for you, Scorpio, well, this new moon is very much about you. On the 1st of November, this new moon is happening in your first house. So many new things, new beginnings, a new cycle, setting new intentions to do with your life path. So thinking about maybe a certain goal you have in mind, certain aims of yours, and certain things that you might wish to achieve. It could be this whole thing of sort of like the fool's journey, heading off on a new adventure, a new journey. There could be a lot of self-discovery involved in this, just a new venture in general. And perhaps that new venture involves travel. It involves long distance travel, especially. Maybe it even has something to do with your career, your vocation, your profession there, because the rulers of the ninth and the 10th are in the first house. Then again, with Mercury also in the first house, perhaps this stuff is tied in with your partner's money, shared resources, joint financial planning, thinking about the future there, thinking about your hopes and your wishes, considering as well being quite practical and methodical about your hopes and wishes for the future, just taking things step by step. Maybe this is even about the services that you offer others, the work that you do out there in the world, and the impacts that you make within society, the changes that you wish to see within society. But essentially, a lot of new beginnings for you here, Scorpio. And at the same time, maybe a part of this is about your body, right? This could be even how things could change to your body, your physical appearance, your identity as well, right? So this could even be about having a child, or this could be about you thinking more so about your achievements and accomplishments. Just what do you want to be successful within? Because think of it this way too, with Gemini, Cancer, Leo, and Virgo all in the southern hemisphere there does seem to be a lot of accomplishment focus, success focus, and how you wish things to evolve within those areas. With you then, Scorpio, you can be quite devoted and determined people. So as you do set new intentions, you may think to yourself, I'm going to make things happen. I'm going to do this. I've got this. And the other thing about this is how you'll transform naturally, right, when it comes to these areas. So your transformations when it comes to your aims and your goals and life chapters, self-discovery. And then we also see here that your rulers are in the third and the ninth houses. So as you might begin a new cycle to do with long distance travel, of course, this could be, for example, relocating, changing locations, even on a more educational level. So this could be wanting to move for higher education reasons. This could also be about just wanting to travel to a destination that you feel you'll really enjoy, that you're quite passionate about. So setting new intentions to do these things, but then yet at the same time, it could be that you've still some things to finish up. You've still some things to address when it comes to learning. So this could be, for instance, you're finishing up a degree or you're finishing up some qualification, this educational qualification. Hey, this could even be work related, some kind of skill, some kind of qualification within your career. And so you're still pretty set on trying to get things finalized there. There can be something to be said about wrapping things up there, moving on maybe from a certain situation. Then again, this could be about sibling relationships. This could be about immediate relationships there. So perhaps this could suggest this it could be repeating old cycles, repeating old patterns, not necessarily coming from you, but it could be that you recognize that some people just never change, and you have to step back and think to yourself, do I want this for my future? Do I want this for my family? Again, this could then go back to you setting new intentions based on, well, yourself, based on what you want, your life path, right? Now, another way to look at this perhaps is about your neighborhood or your local city, your local area, such as, again, this could go back to relocating, changing locations. And so with that, maybe certain members, certain, especially family members or certain employers, may not agree or feel the best about your decision. It could be that there's some power struggle or backlash, or you're having to make some hard decisions about the workload, about how much you can handle on a day-to-day basis there. But I also see this as you being quite adamant about, no, I need to think about my family. Think about how even Pluto itself is going to move into the fourth house for you. Again, Pluto is one of your rulers. So as Pluto moves into the fourth house, this could be about your your focus being more on your family and your living situation and being okay with being different there. And with Mars as well, going to move into the 10th house. Naturally, there will be the Mars retrograde, just to mention, but the other ruler for you, Mars, will move into the 10th house. And so this will be an indicator of some kind of vocation determination or being a bit more of an individual, right? Having this individual attitude about your vocation, about your profession, and perhaps too, standing up for yourself. Yeah, standing up for yourself, putting yourself first when it comes to your career path. Do keep in mind that Mars will retrograde from the 6th of December in your 10th house. So you'll also have an opportunity to review these areas around that time period, which we will talk more about these things closer to the time. Anyway, Scorpio, I feel like I have talked quite a bit about you. Hey, I hope that that's been okay. I hope I haven't rambled too much for you. Anyway, thank you so much. And now we're going to move on to Sagittarius. Okay, so Sagittarius, the new moon in Scorpio on the 1st of November is going to happen in your 12th house. So, what could this mean for you? Well, let's firstly think about how the moon rules your 8th house, right? So, you see there that Cancer rules the 8th. And then with the moon being in the 12th, and so the new moon's happening, there is a new cycle beginning here to do with a lot of psychological inner work. I think that many of you Sagittarians, you may be coming to this point where you really want to understand and analyze yourselves more deeply. You know, maybe this is about therapy, counseling, gaining some kind of professional help or assistance, especially for any big emotions or big feelings you have, or maybe as a way to help you look at any unresolved traumas or to address any repressed emotions. It could just be a very healing time. It could be a time for you to go within and to consider what is locked away, so to speak. What have you denied? What have you repressed within yourself? Maybe there are certain memories that come up, or a lot of stuff comes up to do with the past. Maybe a part of this too is that this stuff is triggered by certain family members, triggered by the actions, especially of your family. Maybe this is even about loss or grief. This is about addressing pent up emotion. So it's safe to say that this can be quite heavy stuff. It can be a lot to look at. Even think about it when it comes to the grand water trine, right? So Mercury, Mars, and Neptune are making this grand water trine in these water emotional houses for you. So we especially see then the family stuff. We see the past, memories, visions, possibly even flashbacks. We also go back to where the lines have been blurred, where you've been deceived, how maybe your boundaries have been, well, not respected, especially by family members. So yeah, I think that this is a new moon where you can set new intentions based on these areas, based on these things, where you can maybe even have some practical tools to help you out. Then again, this could be more of a spiritual thing. right? And sure, we could also look at it as, practically speaking, you can do some spiritual practices, you can do some spiritual work, but I still want to mention, with the 12th house being a part of this is a very spiritual thing. So this could be about maybe you meditating more, practicing deep breaths, deep breathing. This could be about deep relaxation. Perhaps, for some of you, this is addressing your addictions. This is you seeing which kinds of things control you, so to speak, there, and why that is. I think a big part of this for many Sagittarians, it's getting to the root cause. It's asking why. Why did I do this? Why am I addicted to this? Why did I go back to this situation? Why did I self-sabotage? Addressing self-destructive tendencies on your part. Now, I will also say here that for some of you, it could very well be going to rehab, right? It could be going to get help, uh, getting some sort of support to help you through these big challenging emotions of yours. And with that, I do want to say, I do want to be mindful. I want to be sensitive there too. And then for others of you, of course, this could even be about certain dependencies. What are you dependent on? Let's think of it too through a lens of Mercury. So Mercury is in the 12th, and Mercury rules your 7th. Mercury also rules your 10th. So there could be this going behind the scenes energy to reflect upon how it is that you show up within your relationships, to maybe even as well assess your career path, or what you've accomplished, what you have achieved throughout your life, how you've been of service in some way, shape, or form throughout your life, how much you're giving to society, socially, thinking about your public image there. There could just be a lot that comes up and that you think about. And at the same time, this stuff could maybe be quite overwhelming to an extent, because Jupiter, your ruler, is opposite Venus. So just maybe be mindful of how much you're bombarded by information and sources and stuff like that. Uh, yeah, I would just even suggest, with the new moon itself happening in the 12th, to be able to focus more on relaxing your mind. Relax the mind, try and not give in to the fear mongering, or try and not give in to everything that you hear and listen to. It's like, take a step back a bit, because it could be that you feel yourself becoming really emotionally invested or emotionally involved. Now, as for the emotional stuff, maybe this stuff is more even about your resources and your finances, right? Because the rulers of the new moon are in your 8th and your 2nd houses. So over the past 16 years, Sagittarius, you've been up against many obstacles and setbacks, harsh realities, harsh truths, crisis points, urgency points to do with your finances and your resources. And you could be coming to the end of this transit and sort of shaking yourself off, or thinking to yourself, wow, that was crazy. And then with Mars in this opposite sign, opposite house, it could be that certain people just trigger you, or they push your buttons, and you think, I don't need that. Like, I really do not need more pressure, more people coming at me with that. If it is that people lash out, or they're very moody and they just are on the defense, or they just want to attack, maybe this is about you recognizing your own boundaries over these past 16 years, or the work that you've been doing over these past 16 years, thinking about your self-worth actually here, Sagittarius. Yeah, you don't have to give in to the drama of it all, especially if there is some family drama that comes up around this new moon. And I think this is where we go back to the moon being in your 12th, and you being able to kind of hide away a little bit. Right? Hey, this could be a good time to do all of the therapeutic things. Calm. Calmness, hopefully stillness, Sagittarius. Thank you so much, Sagittarius. And now we're going to move on to Capricorn. Okay, so Capricorn, what is coming through for you under this new moon in Scorpio happening on the 1st of November? So the new moon will take place in your 11th house. So what we're going to say for you, well, you will start a new cycle, set new intentions to do with things like your group participations and group involvements. But I think there is an element of this where you're going to be very mindful of who you believe, who you trust, who you take information from and say, this is true. I think this could be a good opportunity for you to really use discernment when it comes to certain ideologies, for instance. Maybe this is even about you rebelling in some way. Okay, rebelling, going against the status quo, going against what is said to be quote unquote normal within a group setting, within a group situation. I mean, this could even be a case of you seeing through a certain friendship matter or an organization matter, right? Such as a certain organization that you're a part of or that you're quite suspicious about. And essentially, this is about challenging the status quo. Maybe there's also something here about new psychological insights to do with your hopes and dreams. So we think about the future and what you want to build there, what you want to plan for there. And with the moon being the ruler of your ninth house, I seem to have a hair in my face, so I'm constantly trying to find it. My apologies. I think I got it. But yes, Cancer rules your seventh house, and so the moon is in your 11th house. Therefore, this hopes and wishes for the future stuff could be about you and your significant other. This could be about what you want to plan for together, but not letting other people's opinions interfere with your path. Because essentially, it's about you and them, isn't it? It's really about you and the relationship that you have with your partner, with your significant other. It doesn't really matter what other people are doing in that way. So there could be something there about just being very devoted to your plan together. Then again, this could also be a case of your partner or your significant other experiencing power struggles within their life. Okay, because Mars is in the 7th, opposite Pluto in the 1st. So maybe it's your significant other that is experiencing this challenge. And maybe that challenge or that tension is somehow influencing and impacting your home life, your family life together. Now, another way to possibly look at this is you addressing your own energy levels, your drive, and your willpower. Because when we think about how Mars is in the opposite house for you, Capricorn, this could suggest some avoidance or being passive aggressive or just indirect. We could just look at it that way, being quite indirect within business settings or indirect about confrontation, because it could even be specifically family confrontation, actually, because Aries is in the 4th. So maybe there's something that you're avoiding, there's something that you don't want to disrupt. And maybe too, even a part of it is you just don't want to be involved in the family chaos, the family drama, and you just want to put yourself first. Maybe you sort of think around this new moon Capricorn, you've already been through so much. Your identity, your life path, your integrals, all these things have changed so much. And it's been tough, like a lot of hard lessons, but naturally okay still. You really being resilient, and you overcoming so much too. You really stepping into your power. All the transformation has led up to where you are today. So you can take that into the next era, the next chapter of your life, of course. But hey, maybe at the same time, this is also where you go, oh, this thing is happening with other people. No, 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 no. I'm just going to back straight out of that. I know that is not for me. It's not my problem. It's not my issue. Yes. And again, I can't help but think that this stuff I'm talking about is somehow related to the kind of future you want to establish. This is about your visions, your hopes, the plans that you have for the future you want to create, right? Your future directions essentially here. And maybe a part of it too, when we think about Mercury being involved, and then the third house and the seventh house, a part of this too is about socializing, the kinds of communities you want to be a part of, the kinds of friendships you want to be a part of. This is about trust, honesty, integrity, thinking along the lines of which people do you want to surround yourself with. And yet, there could be some sort of ending here, ending a group situation, ending a team matter. It could be a business situation. You know, the conflict stuff could be a business partner who maybe feels a bit like family, or it could be a business partner who you've lived with, or it could even be some sort of real estate property situation, an ownership situation. But again, Capricorn, I think this is about you being able to weigh out your options a bit and to reflect upon the kinds of people you want to surround yourself with for the long haul. Thank you, Capricorn. And now we're going to move on to Aquarius. So, Aquarius, the new moon is going to happen in your 10th house. So, what we see for you is you setting new intentions, starting a whole new chapter, a whole new cycle to do with your career path, your vocation. This could quite literally be a transformation to do with your career, such as you leaving a certain position and starting a different one, a new one. Or this could be you just changing roles within the organization or company that you're already in. Or could this could just simply be you shedding old skin and entering a new chapter to do with your career path. You could still be in the same position, but it's just that you've advanced, or it's that you're looking for a change. And we also then want to reflect on how the moon is the ruler of your sixth. So again, I think this does involve work. It involves your services, your occupation. Perhaps this is even about your health, and especially your emotional body. What may be trapped in the emotional body? How might you be triggered still? And that could naturally be connected with your health and your physical body. Think of it also as Pluto is still just at that 29th degree in your 12th. You have evolved, you have transformed greatly when it comes to your psychology over these past 16 years, Aquarius. But maybe this opposition, this new moon, it's sort of like a final push, a final test. It could feel like that, like a final test to see, okay, does this thing trigger me still? Does this thing still get to me? And that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, even if it is that something does trigger you, still does get to you, that's okay. But you can still reflect, and you can still take a moment to go, why? Why am I still in this habit? Why am I still in this cycle, in this pattern? Now, that cycle or that pattern could be related to, naturally, it could be siblings, cousins, it could be classmates, certain friends, certain social networks. This could be even things that you read on social media, this kind of thing, because Aries is in the third and Mars does rule your third. And then perhaps this could even be a case of you being triggered, but then it's your health, it's your body that feels all of those sensations. And then maybe you can even take an opportunity to go, okay, what's happening within my body, to assess where in the body you're feeling these things, So, if anything, too, this could actually be quite useful for you to see, okay, what is still trapped, so to speak, or what is my body still trying to tell me about my frustrations, about my anger, about my unmet needs, my personal needs? How are these things not listened to, not validated? This sort of thing could really come up for you. Though another thing to look at, another part of the chart to look at, would be Mercury joining in with Neptune and Mars. So this is where we further notice some kind of change to do with your work and the way you earn money. Just thinking about the kinds of resources you want to accumulate, or thinking about your physical security quite a bit. But there is an inner faith quality to this, I think. There's something trusting, okay? Being able to surrender control, to surrender by going, hey, that's not up to me. I don't make the decision. I've just got to see what happens here. And perhaps, too, this could be about new leadership in some way, shape, or form when it comes to your work. This could even be a new leadership position, or perhaps it's even about recognizing that it's another person, it's their leadership that has that makes the ultimate decision. It's somebody else's choices and actions. It could be a colleague, it could be an employer, for instance. And we also want to think about how Mars will retrograde. So Mars is going to retrograde from Leo from the 6th of December and then come back into Cancer around January. So around January to February, just remember that you'll also have an opportunity to reassess here the actions that you take leading up or around the new moon. So leading up to or around the new moon in Scorpio, you can reassess the actions that you take with relation to this health stuff and this work stuff. So if, for example, there is some kind of shift or a transformation to do with your career path around this time period, and how that is a part of your finances and your resources and your earnings and so on, just remember that you'll have an opportunity to just reflect, to go over, right, how does this feel? Does this align with me? Is this what I want? What about my energy levels? Can I physically do this? And your health then will be brought into question too, Aquarius. But hey, on the new moon, it's still about setting new intentions here to do with these potential career path transformations. Could even be a case of you being able to take the time to recognize what you have already accomplished and what you have achieved for the long haul there. And to celebrate, actually, to celebrate what you've already accomplished in a huge way too, Aquarius. Thank you, Aquarius. And now, lastly, we're going to move on to Pisces. So, Pisces, this new moon is happening in your ninth house. Yes, it's happening in your ninth house. So, what we could see for you, Pisces, is you setting new intentions, starting a new chapter to do with things like how you quest for more knowledge, how you seek new opportunities, thinking about how you can expand and grow in your knowledge, and how you can even teach, share, get your message out there, certain training programs you could take on and attend. Maybe there's something that you want to publish, there's something that you want to broadcast. But a lot of this is about empowerment. A lot of this is about publishing information that comes from a deep insight, your depth, your experiences, and your ability to look beneath the surface and to bring information to light. So, a lot about truth, I think, for you, Pisces. Honesty may be a big part of this, such as you broadcasting an honest truth, making people aware of a certain global matter, a global affair, And with the moon being the ruler of your fifth house, we could look at this as this learning and this broadcasting, the higher education stuff being linked to your hobbies, being linked to what you've been doing in your spare time. So, for instance, maybe during your spare time, right, you're thinking about your free time here, you have been performing a lot of, um, well, you've been doing a lot of work, I think. I think you've been being quite assertive, and this is where we've noticed your willpower, right? With Mars in the fifth house, the drive that you've had to focus on your hobbies. And so we could see that because you've done a lot of that work already, you then bring it to an audience, you bring it to the public, or you publish it in some way, shape, or form. Then again, this could be about uh, you maybe wanting to travel, right? So long distance travel could be a part of this. For instance, you wanting to go on some international trip, to go to a certain destination, maybe with your intimate partner, specifically with Scorpio in the ninth. But still, because Cancer is in the fifth, this is about romance. There's something about romance and love being involved here. Now, another way to look at this could be that this is a new moon where you may find that you've got to be quite mindful about legal proceedings and just being very cautious of documents and what's being signed, things like that. Think about even Mercury. Mercury is the ruler of your seventh. So making sure that the details are correct and accurate. And then again, this stuff could also be related to the children you have, such as how you look after your children, or this could even be about how you can protect your children. So, yeah, legal stuff to do with children basically around this new moon Pisces. But remember, this is still the beginning stages. So you may be at the start of something new. This could be a fresh perspective, a fresh look there. And furthermore, when we look to how Pluto, which is one of the rulers of this new moon, it's in the 11th house. So with Pluto then opposing Mars, which is the other ruler, well, we could actually see some clashes in agreement when it comes to children. Maybe this is about custody of your children, or this could be about new laws and legislations coming up about how you parent that could challenge you in some way, shape, or form. Or perhaps this is even about you standing up for your children when it comes to the groups and teams and wanting to protect them, wanting to keep them safe in some way, shape, or form. Though another way to possibly look at this is, as I was saying earlier with Virgo, the fifth house can be about how we individualize and how we sort of separate ourselves as individuals. So maybe there's some tension about that, or there's some conflict to do with your individuality. And so you having to protect yourself. So to separate yourself from the group, to separate yourself from a network or a team of people, an organization where you maybe recognize power struggles and things like that, or inappropriate behavior, and you don't want to be a part of it anymore. So yeah, maybe this is even where legal proceedings need to come into place, right? Where you think, hey, no, this isn't right. I'm gonna look to law here as a way to figure out what to do. I'm gonna make sure that I have all the correct information to support me. Could be some kind of claim, or this could be a wrongdoing that has happened, foul play that has happened. And so you're very determined in making sure that you get your victory, or that things are put right, so that maybe justice is served, if you will. And then again, we could also look at this as some friendship situation or a group situation that ends up coming to a close. And so you start to question yourself. You start to question your beliefs, or what led to that point, or why did that friendship happen. I mean, Pluto has been traveling through your 11th house for the past 16 years. And so maybe certain friendships have ended, or you've separated yourself from particular groups and mindsets and mentalities, ideologies that you don't want to be a part of anymore. And so the new moon could just be an opportunity for you to set new intentions based on what you've learned, based on your own resilience and your ability to go, huh, hold on, yeah, I can see that and I don't want that moving forward for my life. And you know what else is coming to my mind before we wrap up here, Pisces? If we think about how Aries is in the second house, maybe this is about ownership, ownership of your creations, ownership of what you've been working really hard at. So if there is any creation or anything that you've made and maybe you want to publish, maybe you want to broadcast it, share it with an audience, you even want to sell it, this could be a good opportunity for you to be mindful of all of the legal stuff. Okay, so ownership, possession here, being a bit of a leader, and making sure that others do not take what you have created unlawfully. So that's just another thing I thought could be a part of this new moon story for you. So everyone, this has been the new moon in Scorpio, all horoscopes. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for listening. If you would like to book a reading with me, you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. And if you really did enjoy your horoscopes today, you can always buy me a coffee. But of course, there is no pressure, no pressure to do anything. It is really just to let you know what there is available. Thank you all so much. Good luck during this new moon. It could feel quite intense, honestly, but hopefully I've been able to support you in some way, shape, or form. I've been able to provide some helpful, hopefully practical, useful advice. But with that, again, thank you, and make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Of course, if you did like today's video, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.